all those crazy things. And so I just had a good understanding of what sounds good at the time, and I feel like I have a pretty solid understanding of that because I've listened to a lot of good music in
Mm-hmm.
general, and have heard myself as a trombone player go from like complete garbage, obviously, when you first start, like someone who can actually play something decent, and every step in between about like perfecting your embouchure
Yep.
and getting those face muscles to work
Yep.
perfectly, how you want to create like that beautiful warm sound.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I kind of transferred that understanding to when I was making music. I could be like, oh, this is, really harsh, or, very simply, at least in the beginning, of like, oh, this sounds good or this doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I kind of focused on just creating those kind of more simple elements that I knew and you could kind of look up YouTube videos for.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
get started. Drum beats, and in terms of like you were saying, transferring like the music knowledge from, writing on a computer, it's like, how do you take something that's so expressive and then somehow make it in this 4x4 grid?
Right. And physical too, you know?
Like you're placing all the elements, and it's just so much more than I ever could have imagined.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I think that was one of my favorite parts about learning Ableton, especially with drums, is like you can make amazing sounding music with just using your mouse, you know? And that cool part about Ableton is when you start to see that grid, and for those of you that don't use Ableton, the grid that I'm like referring to, when you're like making drums or playing an instrument, is it's this horizontal and vertical axis, and on the vertical axis, it has notes going from low to high, right? And if that's a drum kit, you know, instead of notes, it's just different sounds, you know, equally going from low to high. And then horizontally, we have time moving. And so with time moving, if you insert one of these values for a sound, it will play it. And the cool thing is when you learn music theory, when you hear things, you realize that there is a mathematical equivalent that goes with that. And this grid is an expression of that math. And so when you start to feel the connection between your emotional physical expression of playing instruments and how that relates to like the time and mathematical part of it, Ableton becomes like wildly expressive, you know, because you understand what you're doing from both points of view now. I'm really sorry I went on a tangent like that, but like it sounds like to me when I listen to your music that there isn't that lack of understanding of of time and your expression. Like it feels like you had an idea and you put it down. Is that the case for you now moving forward? Because it's been a couple years, right?
Yeah, yeah. At this point, I've been actively producing like regularly for about 2.5. So like before that point, it was pretty much just kind of here and there, and like, oh, I'll sit down and like learn a thing or two today.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally don't think, we're always our hardest critic. I don't think my
Yeah.
music's that good, but it's getting,
Um,
it's a learning. It's about understanding the software and what you can do to create those human-like elements that you can't. That you're essentially recreating a lot of stuff.
mm-hmm.
Like when a drum plays, not every note is hit the same intensity.
Yep.
That's how you create a swing and a groove, is by changing the intensity of which you hit each drum at certain points in the phrase. And it's like understanding how to even do that within Ableton in itself is like a big task, because
Yeah.
once you understand that, then you can listen to something or like make something and be like, all right, I know how to make it groove versus just sound like someone put this in a 4x4 grid
Yep.
and hit play.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I know exactly. It's like it and that's the weird part is like that is kind of what you're working on. Obviously, like it's a little more than a 4x4 um, grid, but like the thing is
Sure.
like when you do like if you have an expressive moment and you're recording it, it does visualize it in this grid, you know, and that means that like in theory like you could understanding like the placement of shit, like you could make groovy shit like without having to necessarily like be grooving on an instrument, which on a side note, like I think that's why like older people don't understand this kind of music is because they feel like that kind of expression doesn't exist in our kind of music, but it totally does, you know. It really totally does.
You just
um
have possibilities, you know,
mm-hmm.
and you're strapped to an instrument and like that's all you get to play.
So uh, I guess I'm curious, like as far as your sound design goes, what are you using now? Like, are you making your own plugins? Are you, you know, like what's your go-to shit?
Uh, I mean, in terms of plugins, like for synthesis, it'd be Vital, which is kind of new, has been pretty cool. I've been messing around with that.
For what
Um,
kind of a like for bass sounds or what? Or just in
on
general?
it's like Serum on steroids.
Okay.
So more oscillators, there's more visualization, and some of the presets I've seen on there are just mind blowing.
Sweet.
Just so much green versus in Serum, you have to do Serum, like put your effects chain on to accomplish the same thing,
Word.
which is pretty cool. So, but you know, I mainly reach honestly for operator inside of Ableton, which is stock, and Serum. Those are my two big ones.
Word. Um, let's see. I'm getting a little bit of delay from your visual to your audio. Would you mind like leave and come back really quick? See if that fixes stuff?
Sure. All right, 1 second.
Oh wait, hold on. All right. Sweet. Thanks guys. I just wanted to get that all lined up for you. All right, sweet. Let's see.
How's this?
Perfect. All right. Nice. Sweet. That was super brief. It actually like stopped right as you were fidgeting with stuff, so I'm glad that was
Of course.
a short moment. Yeah. So, like, kind of moving back to when you started getting inspired to make music, your girl at the time is like, you should start doing this stuff. But what kind of artists or like, you know, like people in your life were kind of guiding like the music that you wanted to make? Because you said you started making like trance and all this other stuff, but I feel like much like a lot of the music that I make a lot of the time, it's just like the music that ends up coming out, you know, and like you just like, yeah, I made this even though I wanted to make some other shit. I don't know if that's something that you go through too, but like,
Of course.
yeah.
Of course. Even more so these days because I have a much more specific goal at this point when I start a
mm,
project.
yeah,
Like, oh, this isn't even anywhere close to where I started, but I guess, you know, we'll ride the wave.
yeah, like so I'm assuming you wanted to make bass music.
No, honestly, I had never really listened to bass music until about 2 years ago.
Oh wow, that makes this even more crazy. And so you were making like that kind of music because that's the kind of music you were going out to see and shit.
Yeah, like I was going to the EDCs, ultras, like you know, I had my taste of main stage once, but that was enough. And then I really got into like Carl Cox and Armin van Buren, his like trance
Yeah.
specific trance stuff is like, very good, and he's, well established at this point.
Oh
So
my god,
it's
yeah.
like people on that side of things that I was kind of just into at the time. And so I was trying to emulate those things.
Word. That's cool. And
Yeah.
then, so because what, 2 years ago you started doing this, like what changed? Like when did you start seeing bass music?
So it was like after, so funny story, super personal, I guess, at this point. It was because like my ex, my girlfriend at the time, she was had her taste in music, which was like future bass, um, you know, trance, a little bit of trance, some techno, stuff like that. And
Yeah.
like that was kind of like what pushed me up until we broke up. And then I kind of found some new people because, when you're sometimes dating a person, they end up consuming you in an unhealthy way.
Sure. Yeah.
And so that's kind of what happened. I didn't really have like any friends or any, it was mainly just like she was my life. And that's where the inspiration for a lot of like when I made music, that's where it would come from, like the things we were doing, da
Yeah.
da da da. And then, I met some new friends and they were into different stuff. And then I started listening to, Tipper, because everyone knows him, and some of the people in that realm, and like EPROM and G Jones. And I was just blown away because I was literally like, what in God's name is this?
Yeah.
Like, this is the stuff that I want to make. And so that happened to me. That was like an epiphany moment, and that's where this kind of all started. Was from that moment about 2 years ago.
Sick,
It
dude.
was great.
So
It was
like,
great.
like you did mention a couple of names. Like, your music sounds like in the most complimentary way. Like it sounds so much like Tipper. Some of it does. You know, I'm like, have you seen him before? Have you seen Tipper? You're like in a really good place to see him being by Swanee. You know, like
Yeah,
they get.
I actually. Oh, it's so tragic. There's Halloween that happens every year.
Yep. Yeah, I've been one time.
Literally, I've never been.
Ugh.
It breaks my heart.
Yeah, you
It was just
gotta.
because of the people that I was friends with, and no, and I was in a fraternity, and just no one was about like that kind of weird
Yeah.
music.
Yeah. I understand that for sure. I think that um, creates kind of like a environment to like if you had gone back then, it might not mean nearly as much as you going to see it now, because like you really truly want to be there for like you know the music in a really special way, which I think is like why we all got to go to music festivals, because it's really easy to go and be out there and like send it and party and like do all this shit, and like like that happens, you miss sets, and like you just part of that is like being in the moment, and just it is a great thing. um,
Mhm.
but I think that whenever you do get the chance to make it over to Swanee for a show, dude, it's gonna be
Yeah,
deeply moving for you for sure. It's such a cool festival ground. Like I'm sure you've seen pictures of
or
it. Just all these crazy
everyone raves
trees.
about it.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because like coming from Colorado and like Michigan originally, you don't really see Florida as a place that has like a forest, I guess, like big ass trees and shit,
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it is, and it's also like really weird because like that part of Florida is like super redneck too, which is also like, oh,
That's
I
for sure.
also didn't know that this was here too, you know. Yeah, man, it's a cool place, dude. I really do hope
Big
that you get to
state,
do that
lots of
soon.
different people. One day I'll make it to Swanee. It'll be
Yeah,
great.
yeah, that's for sure. So like, have you played any shows before?
I've played a couple at this point. I actually used to go by the name Sufed
Okay.
for about a year. I released an EP. It was hot garbage. And then I started this project. I played one show under this project and three shows under the other project. So not much, but
Okay. Okay. That's
makes
cool.
sense why I only have 180 now followers.
Word.
So
Yeah, I get that. I get that. I want to take a second. We got a sub from
ooh,
Hungarian
wait.
Scuba Dad. Yo, thank you so much for the support, man. We appreciate that shit. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Too. This is super cool that you guys get to be here for this. Like y'all that are tuning in. Like if you haven't heard, if you've not heard his music, it's oh man, it's this is like it feels like a really special moment that like I get to have this interview with you. Like to be honest, when we first met, that felt like a super special moment. Um, just to be able to connect with like an artist that is making like mind blowing music, and like I don't know, man, like
Stop it.
it's crazy. Like yeah, once people find out who you are, like it's really you're gonna have so much shit. Oh, all right, it's our buddy P Dog. Yo, thanks for tuning in, dude. Much love. I appreciate you being here, dude. It's a local homie for me over here in Boulder, Colorado.
Nice.
Yeah, man. So, like the other shows that you played under your alias previous to this one, same kind of music or different?
It was in the ballpark. It was I would say to me as not to like hate on bass music, but a lot of the times it's not too musical
Sure.
in
Yeah.
terms of like I mean, it depends obviously, but a lot of the stuff I was listening to, it sounded really sound design heavy and
Yeah.
I it like as much as I loved it, I was like, I can't make this. So I tried making some other stuff
Yeah.
and it was just really unorganized and I didn't have a full understanding of like music structure and at least that was like the production side of it. My sets in general were just way like heavy the whole time. And it
Yeah.
was fun, but I don't know. Now I really appreciate putting some downtime and making it a little more of like a journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's important as like a performing artist is like not only to be able to like have an audience for your music, but to be able to like guide them through it in a way where they're gonna like receive it all the best, and it doesn't feel like you're just like playing tracks off your iPod, like you know what I mean. So I think that coming from a musician's background, you can appreciate that, and likewise, touching back on the subject of like I feel like bass music came from a place of like it was more the noise that had the cultural vibe of like just like disruption, like this is so different, you know what I mean. And so of course it would be sound design heavy because the statement and the expression is more in just like loud weird noises, when I would play
Mhm.
shit, but like back um like when it first started, like back to like my parents or people that hadn't heard it, and it'd be like this just sounds like heavy machinery, like you know like being outside at an airport or some shit like that, like and yeah, so I think that it was inevitable that bass music would take that turn, uh, that would add that would want more expression, you know what I mean, like it's like kind of weird talking about bass nectar and shit, but like
Mhm.
and like if the chat would just like like we just respectfully like deal with me talking about this for a second, but like it's like he's the kind of artist that like realized that there is like beauty in between these moments, you know, and like that it deserves like the same kind of like expression that like classical music would have, you know, where like there are like sections, you know, they're like intention behind the structure of shit, you know, and I think that's really cool that you're doing that kind of stuff, especially in my opinion with this kind of like tipper style music, because to me like it's always a party because it's like it's just like going and then it just switches like to the next weird thing, but it's like less these kind of quieter moments, you know, like when you're at a festival, like the cool thing about your kind of music is like you're creating that space for like you to turn to your friend and like have a moment and like talk and like appreciate shit and like stop getting down for a second and then like be back into it. It's super cool. And is that like your intention behind that, or is that just the way that you perceive music?
I mean, music for me has always been something that should express almost like every emotion, you know, at some point. You know, if you're just experiencing the same emotion the whole time for, you know, in this example, for a set that's an hour long,
Mm-hmm.
you know, some people might love that, but personally, you know, to me that gets kind of stale in a sense of like I want to experience more. And that's like also related to my perspective on life, and that like I'm never content with what's happening. It's always like striving for more and trying to do better and like create new experiences and like live life. And so to me, to put that like perspective into a set is the goal of like let's go on a journey and experience all these emotions and make it something that you're not going to forget, because it's not going to be like anything else that you're going to see here.
Yeah, I feel that, man. That's like really refreshing to like hear somebody say that. You know, I think like I've interviewed. Uh, let's see, this will be you'll be my 14th interview, and like it is kind of interesting to hear like a lot of the people that are like really kind of deeper into their musical careers, and they're like uh, the reason that they make music is different, and not that it's a bad thing, but I think it's really cool to hear that like the music that you're making is more of an expression of yourself instead of kind of like what you think people want to hear, you know, like your
Yeah.
music really is like very special for that reason, man. Like don't don't ever forget that. That's one thing like I started doing these Ableton adventures where we met again just cuz like I just wanted to make music again, you know, like on a regular level, and the kind of music that I make is like it's so much better, and it actually means something to me, you know, which like at the end of it, like
Important.
yeah, that's ultimately like where all the value of it should be, is like there. So yeah, man, it is really nice because I talk to you and now all your music makes sense, like why it's so good. It it really it really is special, man. Like I'm stoked to see where you go with it. So okay, like let me bring it back. So you said you were on Ableton 9. Are you on 10 or 11 now or what?
And I haven't upgraded to 11, but we're only at Ableton 10, finally my own copy last year.
Nice. Hell yeah, dude. What's up?
Needed those Macs for live devices.
Um, yeah, dude, that it's so expensive. I have 9 and I could get I think if I get 10, then you get upgraded to 11 for free, but it's still like, even at, like halfish price, like $600, like, fuck.
Yes, sir.
But I want it. I want it. I've been in between that and also getting this vocoder thing. I forget what it's called. I don't know if you know who Charlie Booth is. He's like a fucking TikTok guy.
Oh God.
He like or Puth, Charlie Puth, Puth, or I think that's what it is. And he he makes it's honestly really crazy because he's like kind of trendy, whatever, but a lot of the music that he makes is actually really good. He's like really talented, and he showed this vocoder program that he uses, and I went to check it out, but it's like $400. Like it's, but it's really
What
legit.
does it do?
You
Oh
can
my
you
God.
can pitch correct like individual sections of stuff, and it shows you like where it thinks you are. So like if you're not like at a perfect C, like you can drag it up so that you hit that note, you know. And so like you could sing, keep it like as organic as possible, and just like fix the little mistakes.
Mm.
And I found that to be really appealing because like I was telling you earlier, um I've been like singing a lot in my music, which I fucking hate, and that getting the vocoder would be um would
Would be a little
really,
secret hack.
yeah, it would be, yeah, I wouldn't even, I wouldn't hide it. I think it would be just a cool thing. All right, sorry, I'm not quite engaged here. P Dog wanted the link for your SoundCloud, so here it is. There you go. Yeah, check out his music, bro. Like, honestly,
All right.
it's it's fucking lit, dude. It is so lit. It this
Just gotta close your eyes, put the headphones on, and zone out for a couple minutes.
Yeah, the production value on it is so high. I mean, it's gonna be bonkers, man. So, all right, like, I'm assuming that you started playing shows and then COVID happened, right? Or like, did you just like, were you not feeling the show thing anymore?
So, to me, my perspective on trying to get into the music industry has always been production first, shows second.
Yeah.
Like, I'll play those opportunities if they presented themselves, but my focus was to make high quality professional sounding music that I can release. And to me, that's a much better way to create yourself in the music industry, because if you're just playing a bunch of shows for fun and like, yeah, your mixing might be good, but you can't approach a record label saying, "Oh, I'm a good DJ, like I mix really well," and be like, "All right, send me some tracks," and you'd be like, "Oh, I don't have any, or they're not that good." And so, like, to me, to take those like bigger steps forward, it seemed like that production was the important part, and so like that's kind of what I've been focusing on. And I started the whole Collective Unconscious project like midway through COVID. Actually,
Okay.
it was like kind of this who's now my manager. We met 2019 at a small festival, and we're just kind of hanging out in the woods, becoming friends, all that sort of stuff. And then he approached me like with this kind of music project idea and laid out a little background about it. And the philosophy regarding the collective unconscious, which if you don't know what that is, you should definitely give it a quick Google. It's was something put out there by Carl Jung, you know, a while ago,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah, yeah. Some
And it's just like
quintessential
this,
psychology.
yeah. And it's basically this idea that on this unconscious level, we're all connected kind of through the energy of the universe, because we're all from a single point in time in the beginning. And so on like a subconscious, like atomic level, we're connected and can influence each other. And at certain points in life, People may be able to access the knowledge that apparently exists in the collective unconscious, which is a culmination of everyone on earth and that has lived and ever lived and will live, and it's just like a really interesting idea that might not be like cold hard science, but it makes sense to me. And I believe that we are all connected on some level.
Yeah, a beautiful thing. It reminds me like you talking about that, like it reminds me of this kind of like visualization my psychology teacher had given us, where it's like it's an ocean, right? And there are all these little tips of ice sticking out of the water. But when you go under the water, you realize that those are just like the tips of things sticking out from one gigantic thing that's floating underneath, connecting everything. And so, right at that surface level, quite literally, everything looks like unconnected, but we really are, and it just takes like a literal deeper look at stuff, and I do like, yeah, like I do feel that, man, for sure. And I think that as our understanding of like science and mathematics deepens, like we'll be able to like quantify that in like a way that um, like people can actually understand it instead of feel it. you know
Hmm. I
yeah.
hope so, at least. That'll just make me more people believe it, is the thing. To me, like if a majority of people believe something, like then it has real power
Yeah.
over humanity.
Mm-hmm.
There's some unfortunate things that have majority hold.
So I guess like kind of a deep question, like when you're making music, do you feel like there's something like beyond yourself that you're kind of like channeling from the collective unconscious, as it were?
Yeah, so there, I don't know, I'm sure people have heard this term of getting in the zone,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something that you do in music too. It's not just like a sports thing.
Yeah.
It's You can do it in any facet of life, realistically. And so that happens to me a lot with music, where it's just this process of me not really thinking and just like letting it roll. And whether it's my emotions or the a collective influence, to me, like my music production is primarily based off of my external experiences,
Mm-hmm.
which would in
Yeah.
turn collective unconscious, just I
Yeah.
guess kind
uh,
of consciously in
yeah,
a
I guess that's
sense.
true, huh?
Because like by people showing me music and just my experiences, just like going to work, and like my emotions come across. Apparently, I don't see it, but I've heard from numerous people that have listened to my music. They're like, "Yo, were you feeling like XYZ when you made this?" And I was like, "Dude, you are literally nail on the head with that. Like, what?" And so I've heard that enough times where it kind of just like trips me out a bit. But that just to me shows that like I get in that zone of just raw emotions and just letting it flow. And so like I obviously can't say for cold hard facts if it's a yes or no to your question, but I like to think so when it
Yeah.
comes to play.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It really sounds like it. It's really interesting too, I guess, like how you talk about like the kind of collective unconscious, even though it feels like it's a really deep thing, like when you're interacting with people, it's like you're accessing all that same shit.
Yeah, it's just a little more conscious, I would say, in that respect.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I guess the conscious collective.
Just because like in your day-to-day life, like you're making decisions that impact what people say to you or who you interact with, so like you kind of have control or some control over that,
Mm.
where the idea of the collective unconscious is that you don't. It's
Yes.
just
All
this
right.
like the ocean, like you were saying, of of just everyone's influence all in one place,
Yep.
not
I,
just like my decisions that are causing these certain emotions in my day-to-day life.
yeah, yeah, kind of just like releasing the tether of decision making. I definitely get that when I'm making music sometimes. Like sometimes it happens on stream for me, but like that's like after I've just been like drinking and smoking, and I just don't like give a fuck, and I'm like just like in my groove, like I'm not paying attention to chat, just like, you know, and music's like you can make a really dope song in like 15 to 20 minutes when you just like you feel your ideas, you express them, and then you're like, wow, and it might not be like totally refined, but it'll be like a full group of ideas, that like you can then fine tune, which
Hmm.
I find to be really refreshing. It's um, from my personal experience, it's been getting a little better because the more I do that streaming, the more it's easier to kind of like tap into that process while also being like mildly present too, because that kind of music, like as music making, like for me, it was very intimate. You know what I mean? Like someone's in the room, maybe.
Hey, I sit by myself, I
Yep.
haven't sure I don't really produce with people just because like I'm kind of too picky at this point.
Yep.
But I recognize that, so you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and I feel like streaming has to be kind of fun though, but it definitely like you were trying to say, I feel like, is that it distracts you at the same time from the process of what's happening.
Yep.
You can't 100% invested. At least in the beginning, it seems like you're getting a
Yeah.
little.
It still is that way. Like, and that's like a thing where I feel like now that I don't have any goals with music. I just make it. And so like now the thing that I kind of like is just like seeing what happens when I put myself in these kind of different environments to create music, because like the weird thing is like I would have never met you were it not for that shit. Do you know what I
It's a
mean?
fact,
And that's like
and
a
I just
really
have that.
crazy. Yeah,
That was crazy.
yeah, and it was like it was a to me it was like a wildly meaningful experience, like even before hearing your music, like you taking the time to like listen and talk to me about it, and then like we heard you music, and then I played you some more, and like and like now I have this really great friend, and it's like just because I kind of like opened up my music making process a little bit, you know
Hmm.
so it's interesting, like yeah, I still feel most comfortable like in my space, with nothing, but it really does produce some beautiful moments. Like I would encourage you um, to do that, because you're kind of a um, like a god when it comes to sound design, in my opinion. And I know a lot of musicians, bro. Like formally, like being a classically trained musician, like up until freshman year of college and shit. Like you are really gifted and shit, and I think it would be really cool for you to share that and meet other people that you know um, can just make your journey like a little better. I think it would be really cool for you, man, and it would be really well received. So, you know, maybe one of these days, go live on your go live on your phone for a little bit, maybe when you're making music, and just see what happens.
I've been thinking about it.
Yeah,
Think,
you got a new PC, right?
yeah, I was talking to my friend the other day about potentially just like streaming at night
Mm-hmm.
when I get home from work for like an hour or two, and just it's a way to keep like myself accountable.
Yeah,
If people show up, they show up, and
yeah,
good.
dude. Right, and it keeps you making music. That's the thing about like my Ableton adventures, that like I don't even think about it throughout the week, and I know I'm gonna make music on Wednesdays. Like and I know I'm not gonna like work on something that I started before. I'm just gonna express myself, and it doesn't matter how many people like watch. Like I get the reward of actually like doing that, because like like we're humans, like we do shit, we work, like you want to come home and you want to just like you know just stop, and applying yourself, especially creatively, can be a little taxing on the mind. But
Yes.
it's good, yeah, man. And you wouldn't even have to stream with a camera, like the one thing about streaming Ableton is like I have to put it like above where the master fader is, like my camera up
Hmm.
there, because like you can't see everything. And honestly, like I always forget to move it because I stream other things, and it's just way better like without a camera, like better on the computer. You get the kind of like I don't have to look pretty for a stream kind of shit.
It makes it a little more like camera. Like it felt a lot more personal when we met because you had the camera, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah, I agree, man, for sure. I wouldn't let that stop you, but it sounds like you're gonna get one anyways, man. Do you have a Twitch channel at all?
Just like the normal one that I use.
Okay.
Nothing crazy. I don't even know
Uh,
on it.
no worries, dude. Yeah, if you find it and come into the chat, I'll have everybody try and give you a follow just to get you a little head start on that. Is it collective unconscious, or is it like some other like is it your gamer stuff?
I think it's yeah. I'll just do it once we go into the set.
All
I'll
right.
just post it there.
All right, that sounds good. Hell yeah. Well, it is crazy, dude. It is 7:59 right now. We've been just kind of going back and forth for the last hour here. You guys, I'm glad that everybody's been tuning in. P Dog, thank you for coming in and dropping the sub, inquiring about the SoundCloud too. Maddie, we appreciate you being here. Before we get into this set, I guess I'll give you like another chance to kind of plug yourself, let everybody know your socials and whatnot, and then we'll get into the fucking music, guys. So
All
go
right,
for it.
all right. It's simple. Collective space unconscious. You can find me Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those fun places. SoundCloud's the same thing. Most of my profile pictures are going to be a lovely white eyeball. So hopefully that'll stick out for you. And yeah, let me know what you think of the music.
Sweet.
Always.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, thanks for being on the show. I do appreciate it. I'm stoked to keep connecting with you like after this. Let me tell you what, guys, like before we start the show, um, Jonathan and I were getting really, really into these Pokemon breaks. I've been
Come on.
breaking packs, and holy shit! I mean, if you guys aren't into the fucking the Pokemon craze that's going right now, especially if you're like like we're born like anywhere like in the late 80s to like late 90s, you probably had Pokemon as part of your childhood, and that shit is coming back. People are breaking packs, we're hitting big cards. It is some absolutely bonkers shit. So
I'm getting
um
to it.
yeah, right. I know everybody that I kind of like show, we spend a little time watching a pack breaking stream, and it's like, I cannot believe that this amount of money is being thrown around right now, and it's Pokemon. Like, it's nuts. So, like, if you go search on your Twitch bar for the Pokemon trading card game, you'll find some people breaking packs and seeing what I'm talking about. It's crazy. I'm not going to tell you how much money I've made in the last couple of weeks doing this, but it is enough that somebody could quit their job. So, yes. Anyways, with that said, guys, fucking, we're going to get into the music. I'm going to let you go for the rest of the night. I'll keep talking with you in chat on Twitch, And I'm going to say my little goodbyes before we switch things over. So thanks for coming on the show. Guys, that's Collective Unconscious. This is RickTalk, where the minds meet music and the music meets me. Everybody have a good night. All right. Sorry, you guys. I had to do that for YouTube. I had to say good night. Don't leave yet. All right. All right. Jonathan, I'm going to let you go. We're going to get this set started. We'll see you soon, my brother. All right.
All righty. Thanks for having me, my man.
Yeah, of course. All right. Peace, brother.
Peace.
All right. Let's see what happens. All right. So you guys can still see me here. We are going to get started with this show. Let's see. Let me put it on this. Oh, perfect. It changed to the right camera. You got to love that, guys. I got 2 cameras now. Feels good. Feels good. Let's get this fucking set rocking. Holy shit. What a good interview, too. You guys, I have not heard this yet. So, you're going to have to give me a second to make sure the volume's okay. I played it like 17 seconds of it earlier just to make sure the thing worked. But you guys, we are about to get into Collective Unconscious's set for us. Let's fucking get this thing popping, guys.
What civilization is 6 billion people trying to make themselves happy by standing on each other's shoulders and kicking each other's teeth in. It's not
Here we go,
a
guys.
pleasant
Now I'm gonna
situation.
take
And
myself
yet,
off
you can
this.
stand back and look at this planet and see that
Where
we
is it?
have the money, the power, the medical understanding, the scientific know-how, the love, and the community to produce the kind of human paradise. But we are led by the least among us, the least intelligent, the least noble, the least visionary. We are led by the least among us, and we do not fight back against the dehumanizing values that are handed down as control icons. This is something, I mean, I don't really want to get off on this tear because it's the lecture in itself, but culture is not your friend. Culture is for other people's convenience and the convenience of various institutions, churches, companies, tax collection schemes, what have you. It is not your friend. It insults you. It disempowers you. It uses and abuses you. None of us are well treated by culture, and yet we glorify, the creative potential of the individual, the rights of the individual. We understand the felt presence of experience is what is most important, but the culture is a perversion. It fetishizes objects, creates consumer mania, it creates endless forms of false happiness, endless forms of false understanding in the form of swirly religions and silly cults. It invites people to diminish themselves and dehumanize themselves by behaving like machines.
The universe consists of non-simultaneously apprehended events.
Dissolving hallucinogens that give you a sense of unity.
You can't see it, but you never know. I feel sorry for you. I feel sorry for you. I feel sorry for you. I feel sorry for you.
Yo. Melodic sounds.
like you tryna make your wiggle, 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 like you tryna make your ass fall. Really think I wanna smash you on now. Speed up that gas pedal. Slow down. Wiggle like you tryna make your ass fall. Really think I wanna smash you on now. Speed up. Little mama got a sex appeal, the real thing. She make it break it down. When the shit down, that's when they get real. She got
Down. Fuck it.
The computer that if it will tell me the correct answer, I will gladly share with it the grand prize. He says, what would a computer do with a lifetime supply of ultraslog?
What is a physical body? The body is merely an object. It is a form of existence far too impure to store the gods within us cold souls. Now you will remember. Blood-stained history, material greed, hunger, sexual desire, desire to dominate, desire for fame, humanity. From the physical body, all the desires are born, and the human ego will never disappear as long as desire remains present. Humans will continue to fight to fulfill their body's desires, and it will never end. There's no future. Awaken. Awaken your soul. Rid yourself of that fear.
Turn it up!
Yo, thank you guys so much for tuning in. That was Collective Unconscious. Awesome interview. Great set. This will be up on YouTube in case you missed any of it. We'll be back for another RickTalk and awesome set next month. About 30 days from now or so. If you guys enjoyed that content, make sure you go check out Collective Unconscious on SoundCloud. My God, that was so awesome. I hope that everybody has an awesome night tonight. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate every single one of you. Thank you, Hungarian Scuba Dad, for that sub. That was so awesome. Any of you guys that followed, we appreciate that. It means a lot. So, until next time, guys, that's been RickTalk, where the minds meet music and the music meets me. We will see you guys soon. Peace out.